This is Unit 3, Day 1, Angle Notation and Conditional Statements. Our objective today is I will be able to notate angles using all three methods, and our second objective is I will be able to identify the hypothesis and conclusion of conditional statements. So the first thing we want to talk about is what is an angle? And an angle is something that is formed by two rays that have the same endpoint. Now, as a reminder, a ray is a part of a line that has one endpoint and one that goes on forever. So one arrow. When we talk about an angle, we're looking at kind of the space in between those two rays, right? You'll often see this kind of semicircle marking to indicate an angle. We can notate angles using three methods. One is to use the letter that is next to the vertex. So the vertex is going to be like the point of our angle, and that letter here is B. So you can say angle B. You can also use three points, right? One on each ray and one on the vertex, and then you get angle A, B, C. And then lastly, you can use a number. So here you see there's a number 2 that indicates the angle. So you can say angle 2. By and large, my preference is going to be the second method. My preference for the second method is because it is the most specific, and therefore it causes the least amount of confusion as to what angle we're talking about. Okay? Now, what's really important in geometry is being able to identify the difference between an angle and a side, all right? So here, when we look at all of these numbers, there are 6 different numbers, right? 5, 5, 8, 94, 43, 43. Now, what those numbers mean are very different, whether it's an angle or if it's a side, all right? So the side is telling you that it's the length of that side of the triangle, right? It is the distance between I and H. As opposed to an angle, you're talking about this kind of space in between the two rays, right? So just to clarify, 5, this 5 and this 8 are all sides, and then this 43, this 43, and 94 are all angles. Oftentimes, angles are inside the triangle and sides are on the outside of the triangle, but not always. So, teacher example number 1. What is the angle measure of angle ABC? So here, I can actually just trace out A, B, and C, right? So it's going to be here to here, which means we're talking about this angle. So, angle ABC equals 89 degrees. Now there's 2 other ways that we could name angle ABC. We could use angle CBA, and we could use angle B. Again, I'm going to prefer the 3-letter methods, but angle B would also unambiguously say the angle that we are wanting to talk about. Try student example number 2. Now we're going to switch over to conditional statements. A conditional statement is an if-then relationship between 2 statements. The first statement is always called the hypothesis. And we use the letter P to denote the hypothesis. The second statement is called the conclusion. And we use the letter Q to denote the conclusion. All right, they're connected by an arrow. So if hypothesis P, then conclusion Q. For example, say if it is a shape with 3 sides, then it is a triangle. And we know that the first part, a shape with 3 sides, is our hypothesis. And the second part, it is a triangle, would be our conclusion. So if you are in Atlanta, then you are in Georgia. If it is a bunny, then it is an animal, right? The first is a hypothesis, the second is a conclusion. So teacher example number 2, underline the hypothesis and circle the conclusion. So we know hypothesis, we use the letter P, conclusion, we use the letter Q. If you are a cat, then you are a mammal. So we know that the hypothesis comes after our if. So we're going to underline our hypothesis. Then you are a mammal, so we're going to circle the conclusion. So this is our hypothesis, and this is our conclusion. Try student example number 2. All right. And then lastly, write your own conditional statement. If this, then this. All right. Please remember to reflect, and I'll see y'all in class.